One Love Armband. The build-up to the 2022 World Cup already felt tense, but then a simple armband turned into a global showdown. England, Germany, the Netherlands, Denmark. Several European teams had coordinated months in advance to wear the One Love armband, a symbol promoting inclusivity and standing against Qatar's laws on same-sex relationships. It began as a quiet plan, something meant to send a message without turning the tournament upside down. Then FIFA stepped in. Behind closed doors, officials warned the federations that wearing the armband wouldn't just lead to gentle fines. Captains risked on-the-spot sanctions, including mandatory yellow cards before a ball was even kicked. For teams that had spent years preparing for a World Cup run, starting a match with your leader booked was a threat too big to ignore. Meetings stretched late into the night. Some captains reportedly wanted to push ahead. Others felt the decision had already been squeezed out of their hands. Hours before their opening games, every participating federation backed down. The armband disappeared, players quietly taped up their sleeves, and the biggest political statement of the tournament never made it to the pitch. Instead, the debate spilled into media rooms, fan forums, and press conferences worldwide. The moment showed how just one accessory, barely larger than a wristband, sent entire football associations scrambling and reshaped the tournament's tone before it even began. Jewelry on the pitch. Football's rulebook keeps things simple. No jewelry, no chains, no earrings, no rings, nothing that shines under stadium lights. Sounds easy enough, but players have been testing that line for years, and the results range from awkward to outright chaotic. Refs usually spot the problem during warm-ups. They check sleeves, socks, tape jobs, and that's when the drama starts. Some players insist the item is safe. Others try hiding it with layers of athletic tape, and every so often, someone wanders onto the pitch wearing something they absolutely shouldn't have. The boldest example came from China's Wang Shenchao in 2018. He subbed into a friendly, jogged into position, and then pulled a diamond necklace out of his sock like he was revealing a magic trick. Cameras caught everything. After the match, the Chinese FA hit him with a fine and a period ban, all for 20 minutes of sparkle. Even harmless rings have caused arguments. Many married players hate removing their wedding bands, so FIFA eventually allowed them to be fully taped if the referee approved it. That tiny compromise saved a lot of pre-match negotiations. The rule stays strict for one reason: safety. A mistimed elbow against a metal edge can split skin instantly, and in a sport built on collisions, nobody wants that. Still, every season someone tries their luck, and every season a referee ends up pointing at an ear, a wrist, or a neck, reminding everyone that jewelry might be small, but the trouble it creates is enormous. Grip socks. Some football controversies come out of nowhere, and grip socks might be the funniest example of that. A simple pair of socks, that's all it took to start a fight between players, sponsors, and FIFA officials clutching branding guidelines like holy scripture. By the late 2000s, players across Europe were obsessed with TruSox, a brand that gave extra traction inside boots. They felt better changing direction, cuts felt sharper, and suddenly half the Premier League was sneaking them on. The issue? Clubs already had deals with Nike, Adidas, or Puma, and none of those companies wanted players hiding their official kit behind a competitor's logo. The 2018 World Cup qualifiers brought the showdown. England players like Dele Alli, Eric Dier, and Raheem Sterling walked onto the pitch wearing TruSox over their Nike-issued socks, ignoring repeated warnings. Broadcasters caught the logo instantly, and that was enough for FIFA to step in. The English FA received a £70,000 fine for unauthorized branding, all because a few players wanted their feet to feel nice. It didn't stop there. Teams around Europe began taping over the TruSox patterns, cutting holes in team socks, layering fabrics, anything to keep the grip while avoiding fines. Equipment managers turned into part-time lawyers, checking every stitch before kickoff. The rule remains strict today. Either the sock matches the uniform and the sponsor's contract, or the player is told to change on the spot. Bladed studs. Football boots have evolved a lot, but nothing stirred up more fear on the touchline than bladed studs. They were introduced for better traction, sharper turns, and a cleaner feel on firm ground. On paper, great innovation. On the pitch, a disaster waiting to happen. The turning point came in 2005 at Manchester United. During a routine challenge, Roy Keane went in for a tackle and came out with a foot injury that stopped everyone cold. The imprint of a bladed stud was visible on his foot, a clean, unmistakable shape carved directly into the skin. Sir Alex Ferguson didn't need a second opinion. He told the club's players to stop wearing bladed boots immediately, calling them a danger to anyone who stepped in their path. Other managers took notice. Equipment checks started getting stricter. Referees began inspecting studs before kickoff, and boot manufacturers quietly redesigned patterns to avoid the growing stigma around blades. The issue was simple: when a metal blade hits the wrong angle, it doesn't slide, it cuts. Today, bladed studs aren't outright banned by FIFA, but many clubs avoid them altogether, and some training grounds won't allow them at all. Smart headbands. When wearable tech started creeping into sports, football felt like it was a few updates away from becoming a sci-fi movie. GPS vests, heart rate monitors, all that behind-the-scenes data made sense, until someone brought smart headbands into the conversation. The idea was simple: a lightweight band that could track impacts, measure brain activity, and collect real-time data on potential concussions. Safety departments loved it, medical teams loved it. Even a few players were curious, but the moment these prototypes got close to the pitch, officials reacted like someone tried walking in with a drone strapped to their forehead. Football's laws are strict about equipment, especially anything that counts as electronic performance tracking. GPS vests only became legal after years of negotiation, and they're still heavily regulated. A headband with embedded sensors? That opened a door the sport wasn't ready to walk through. Coaches could theoretically access live collision data mid-match. Opponents might argue it gave certain clubs a technological edge. Broadcasters feared it could interfere with signals. FIFA shut the idea down fast. Trials continued behind closed doors at youth academies and training camps, but whenever someone suggested using them in official matches, the answer stayed the same: not happening. Altered shin pads. They are the most basic requirement in football. No pads, no game. Simple enough, until players start modifying them like they're running a side business in custom equipment. Over the past decade, referees have caught all kinds of experiments. Pads cut in half, pads the size of a credit card, pads with personal photos printed inside, even pads that were basically thin plastic stickers pretending to offer protection. The rulebook is clear: shin pads must be made of suitable material and offer reasonable protection. But players crave comfort and minimal weight, so some start trimming their pads down to the smallest shape legally possible, and sometimes illegally small. In top leagues, refs do random equipment checks, and that's when things get interesting. Players get pulled aside, asked to show the padding, and occasionally jog back to the bench looking annoyed as the kitman scrambles for a regulation pair. UEFA has stepped in during Champions League matches. Serie A officials have done mid-tunnel inspections. Even the Premier League has had cases where players had to switch pads minutes before kickoff because the originals looked more like bookmarks than protection. Some stars wear tiny shin pads every match without issue, as long as they meet the minimum thickness and structure. But once a pad is visibly altered or obviously unsafe, officials get strict fast. Earpieces. Coaches dream of a world where they can feed instructions directly into a player's ear like a live video game. For a brief moment, that future actually tried to sneak into football through earpieces. Small, discreet, and surprisingly effective during training sessions, these devices let players hear tactical cues without shouting across the pitch. Then someone floated the idea of using them in official matches, and FIFA's Law 04 slammed the brakes so fast it felt like a VAR decision on turbo mode. The problem goes beyond technology. An earpiece could give one club constant tactical updates, turning every player into a wandering sideline huddle. Opponents would have no idea what information was being fed mid-play. Analysts could exploit live data, and coaching staffs could run real-time micromanagement. It would completely change how matches flow. Football's governing bodies weren't willing to gamble on that. Electronic communication devices are strictly prohibited for players, and the only people allowed tech during games are staff on the touchline, not the ones running around on the grass. Some clubs still experiment with earpieces during youth training, especially when developing positional awareness. But as soon as match day arrives, officials do equipment checks specifically looking for hidden electronics. Shirts get lifted, collars get checked, and anything resembling a listening device is confiscated instantly. Snoods. For a short moment in the early 2000s, snoods were taking over football like they were the newest superpower. Carlos Tevez wore one, Samir Nasri wore one, and suddenly every cold weather match looked like a runway show for neck warmers. Fans loved the look, players loved the comfort. FIFA, they called an emergency meeting. The issue came down to safety. Snoods wrap around the neck, and officials worried they could snag during a challenge or get pulled accidentally in a scramble. The idea of a player going down with fabric tightening around their throat made FIFA move fast. By 2011, the verdict was official. Snoods were banned from all competitive matches. The funniest part is how dramatic the ban announcement felt. Reporters asked if snoods were dangerous enough to cause choking hazards, and FIFA doubled down. They wanted them gone from every pitch, at every level, under every condition. Even youth leagues followed suit, meaning 12-year-olds running around in oversized thermals had to ditch theirs too. Some players tried switching to tape, scarves tucked under shirts, or oversized collars. None survived the pre-match inspection. The snood era ended almost as quickly as it started. Bandanas. Well, they have floated around football for years, usually as a harmless piece of flair. Players wear them in warm-ups, training sessions, even tunnel walks, no problems there. But the moment someone tries stepping onto the pitch with one, referees shut it down instantly. It's almost comical how fast officials notice a square of fabric. The reasoning traces back to uniform regulations. Every visible accessory has to match team colors, pose zero safety risk, and avoid distracting opponents. Bandanas break all three in one go. They slip, they flap in the wind, and they rarely match anything besides the player's mood. So refs treat them like contraband. Players get pulled aside during pre-match inspections, and you'll often see a teammate jogging to the sideline with a bandana in hand after the fourth official gives the signal. It has happened across leagues. Players thinking a small head wrap would help with sweat or style, only to be told to remove it before kickoff. Even non-branded bandanas don't make the cut because they're classified as unauthorized headgear. FIFA prefers tight, secure, no-movement accessories like soft headbands or tape, sharp or hard protective gear. Every season, players pick up knocks that require masks, casts, or protective wraps. And for a long time, some of those supports looked like they were made out of spare car parts, fiberglass, hardened plastic, or materials that could win a fight with a coffee table. The intention was pure: protect the player. The problem? They could also hurt the person on the receiving end of a shoulder challenge. The laws of the game allow protective gear, but only if it's made from soft padded materials. Anything rigid gets flagged immediately. That's why you'll often see medical staff scrambling to wrap casts in thick foam layers before a player steps onto the pitch. If the referee thinks the surface feels too hard, the player is told to either re-wrap it or sit out entirely. One famous example involved players attempting to enter matches with fiberglass casts. Fully legal in everyday life, completely illegal in football. Officials would run their hands over the wrist or arm, shake their heads, and point back toward the tunnel. Even face masks designed after fractures can get denied if the edges aren't rounded or properly cushioned. Clubs have learned to soften everything: forearm casts, cheekbone masks, even padded helmets. Anything sharp or rigid becomes a liability. The rule is simple: if another player could get cut, bruised, or stunned on impact, the gear isn't stepping onto the field. Non-matching undershirts. Something as harmless as an undershirt shouldn't be a problem, but football treats it like a crime against fashion. Like said, Law 04 states that any visible base layer, sleeves, undershirts, compression gear, must match the color of the team kit. Sounds easy until a player forgets, grabs the wrong top, or just prefers wearing their lucky undershirt from 3 seasons ago. Refs catch this stuff immediately. The tunnel is barely warm before someone gets tapped on the shoulder and pointed back towards the dressing room. Cameras have caught players sprinting off to change seconds before kickoff because the sleeves poking out under their jersey were the wrong shade of blue. Some clubs even keep emergency undershirts on the bench because this rule gets broken so often. Things escalated during colder months when half the league started wearing long-sleeve compression tops. Suddenly, broadcasts were filled with players mixing navy blue, royal blue, sky blue, and match officials shut it down fast. Consistency matters for identification, especially with VAR relying on clean visuals. If the kit is red, everything visible has to be red. No exceptions. Quite a list, right? Anyway, any we missed, comment down below. If you enjoyed watching the video, you'll surely love this one.